YouTube, it's YellowChops. It's been a while since I put a video up here, but I wanted to showcase leveraging the Yamaha MoX6, Ableton Live, and the TouchOSC application for iPhone, iPad, and I believe they have it for the Android platform as well. I just wanted to showcase what you can do playing live and triggering Ableton Live through the TouchOSC application, walk through some basic setup on Ableton Live, and explain some of the TouchOSC controls I set up on my iPhone here. So without further ado, let's get started.
Alright, so let me show you what I got going on. Alright, so here is Ableton Live. I have my shot project in here. I'm using a shot pattern because it works out well for demoing. There's a lot of small patterns that you kind of chain together, so you can have a lot of different ones lined up. So if you go to the preferences, audio, you'll see the Yamaha MoX is there. Selected, all inputs and outputs are selected, or enabled rather. And then MIDI import 1 is on the track. The blue right here is the MIDI. I just color coded it blue for MIDI, and then green for the audio, and red for the audio as well. But the red is the drum loop, and then this is bass, this is piano. And then here's my different shot patterns. So here's like the walk, the diminished change, short diminished change. JPK is just my abbreviation for choppy key. And then the numbers correlate with the chord progression 3 4 5, 3 3 4 5. And here's all the different changes. So like here's like minor old school, and that's what I named it OS. So it doesn't really matter what you name it, but here are all the different patterns I have lined up here. So then I could just go through them and trigger them and go where I want to go when I want to go to it, instead of being stuck in a fixed pattern. And so this is the main benefit of Ableton Live, is you can move around your set, and you can go make changes to your arrangement in real time. So you don't have to be stuck to that change however you made it at that moment, and you still get, you still have separate tracks for each, you have different faders for each track, so you can control your levels separately. So, if you put it all in one stereo file, then you can't turn down piano or turn up bass or turn down the drums, etc. So that's a huge advantage of Ableton Live for doing this kind of stuff, for triggering stuff live. All right, let's see what it's like to put this stuff into action.
All right, so what I have running on this is, this is an iPhone, obviously. It's my old iPhone. I have TouchOSC running on here, and I created my own custom controls on here. So here's a fader for piano, bass, drums. I have 3 different drum loops, drums 1, 2, 3, and then machine is just the VST. In the far right, I have a master fader, and so this is actually, what's nice is it's bidirectional control, meaning this gets updated if it changes in the software. So let me go ahead and change on the remove the fader on the software. So I'm going to move the piano fader up and down, so you can see it moves up and down, and it obviously goes the other way around too. So for example, if I press play, so I'm pulling my master fader down, pulling my master fader down here, and I can pull down the bass, turn it up. I have it pretty low so you guys can hear me talking. Turn it down actually a little bit lower. So I have piano fader, bass fader, machine. I'm using it as my drum loop. Machine is just playing it live. These are the audio versions of it, but I have machine still there because it's a little bit better for tempo changes. So here's all my different changes. So I have the walk. So this is kind of like just your regular when you're shouting over one. And then I could go to the diminished chord. So these are all my shout changes right here, with the exception of these 2, that's play and stop, as you can see. And I'm trying to focus it in here. So I have my changes written out on here. So like here's kind of the different ones. Here's like a diminished chord change, and here's just the short version. And then here's a long version. And then here's kind of like a 3/4 flat 5/5. I wrote it, you know, however you guys want to write it your own. You guys can create your own name, however you want to name it. But I name mine just by the chord changes. So. I have this other change here. And these are just all different shout changes. I don't have to go through all of them, but I have roughly I guess 10 of different ones, and then a walk. And these ones here, the walk up 1, walk up 2, these are just different ways of walking up. You know, so like say you're ending here. So I'll do it, for example, I'll hit this diminished one. And say I'm about ready to get out. So you kind of see how that's kind of like my way out of the different changes. I'm trying to think of another one that I have here that might be easy to see. Actually, this one. Let's try this one. So it allows me to kind of let me play as long as I want to play, and then come out whenever I want to come out. So this gives me real-time control of the different parts I want to go to in the shout or whatever. I haven't really tried this in service yet with the band, because they got to know all these changes, and then obviously they got to be able to stay in time and all that stuff with the click. But this is pretty cool. So I can go through my whole set. Now, some of you, if you're wondering, well, can't you do this in the motif in pattern mode? Well, you can, but there's one caveat. Ableton Live, it allows you to set a different start point. A loop start and a start point can be different. Where on a motif, it's just whatever it starts, this is where it starts, and then it loops back to that starting point. So, for example, like this change here, there's some changes the kind of transition chords, but when you loop that part, you don't want it to play the transition piece because that's it's kind of like, say, passing chords going to the next section. So you don't want it to loop those transition chords. So the motif, you'd have to break it up into two parts. So you'd have one transition, and then you go to the next one. So when it actually loops, it loops the part that you want it to loop. So for example, this one here, let me let you hear it. It just looped. I don't know if you heard it, if you could tell, but when it's going to that one change, I'm playing a little louder. So that's the loop part. The part that's a transition piece is a... That's just the transition piece. That's the part you don't want to loop when you're staying on that part. I mean, you could go back to that part, but you want to come out and go back in. No, you don't want to loop that part right there. So that's what's nice about Ableton Live versus kind of doing it on pattern mode on the motif. You can do it, but this would have to be 2 parts in the motif. I've done it before, and then I kind of actually run out of sections, believe it or not, because I have to break the parts up into multiple sections. I think that's the correct terminology for the motif. You have to break it up in different sections so when you transition over, it doesn't loop the wrong part. So this is kind of nice. I can set my own pages. I have my own faders here. I started using these right here in the beginning. Let me zoom in a little bit or focus in. This is basically what's similar to on the other page. I have similar names. Oops. These small ones became really hard to kind of make sure you hit just right, and you don't want to accidentally hit the wrong one. So that's pretty cool. And I could create, more pages if I wanted to. I actually have another set that I'm working on that I'm adding more stuff into, and I was going to try to get that done in time, but I just have enough time to add I have some other patterns I'm trying to add in, and they're not done yet, and I just wanted to get this video up to kind of show you guys what you can do. But you can do multiple pages, you can have, a whole bunch of other parts if you want to go to. You can use it for arrangement, or you can actually use it live to go to different parts. And then you're just going to make sure in Ableton Live you set the what do they call it? The global quantize to the right value, so you don't actually. You just got to adjust it, and you got to know. That's probably the trickiest thing with triggering, is knowing when you're supposed to trigger to the next part. All right, that wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm putting up some of the screenshots of the TouchOSC controls that I had on my iPhone, so you can get a better look at it. And if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. Thanks.